What if I told you that the only thing between you and your dream life is a decision? I'm going to share 6 decisions that I made to create love in my life and to bring about a softer life. And some of those decisions seemed a little insane, but they actually worked. And I'm also going to share with you the results that I got after 6 months of doing these things. Want to know what they are? Stick around. Hi, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I am Porsche the Communicator, your trusted mental health life coach, and I help people transform their negative relationship experiences so that they can get the loving and lifelong partnerships they desire. In this video, we are going to discuss 6 major insane things that I did to create a softer life for myself and to bring about love in my life. If there's anything that I share throughout this video that resonates with you, give it a thumbs up, share the content if you know it can be beneficial, and join the conversation in the comments. Now, when I talk about manifesting and creating love in a softer life, on this channel, I do believe in the woo-woo, but I also very much equally believe in the practical. And in this video, I'm going to talk about more of the practical aspect of this, but I will get into some of the mystical stuff as well. So to quickly dive in, we're going to start with thing number 1. I moved from state to state. That in itself is not really insane. The insane thing is that I decided to make this move across state lines with no money, with no savings. Yeah, like what was I thinking? And I'm not suggesting that anybody do what I did. However, this is what I am saying to do. I have heard from a lot of women, I also include myself in this experience because it was one that I lived as well, that sometimes the pool of men or the pool of prospects that are in your immediate area just are not giving. They're not giving the excitement, the desire, the possibility. They're not giving the future that you have in your mind. You don't see great dating options where you are. And rather than being stuck in the constant story and cycle of there just aren't any good men out there, I want to challenge you to reframe that and say, there may not be any great options where I am. And this is where the decision making comes in, because are you going to stay stuck or are you going to go where your prospects are better? And that was a decision that I had to make. I could not continue to sit where I was expecting a different result and then being mad that I didn't get what I wanted, still doing the same thing, being in the same place. And so I would encourage you, if this is something that you're experiencing, if you are in a place where it feels like Operation Desert Storm, it's dry when it comes to the dating options. It's a disaster. And I do believe in doing internal work first, because sometimes it's not them. It's not the external. That's the problem. It's us. But if you are doing that and you're fully self-aware and you are alchemizing your life in as many ways as possible, and you're still not seeing what you want in your immediate environment, I want to challenge you to make a decision to explore elsewhere, to venture out into other environments. And so that's what I did. I'm from the West Side, California, born and raised, okay? If you know, you know. I'm from deep East Oakland, and I will always rep it because that is where I came from. However, when it came to the things that I wanted in my life, I knew that I had to export myself to experience greater things, just more things in general, without being confined to the same box, expecting different results. I actually moved to a couple of different places, traveled the world several times over, ended up in Vegas, which kind of leads me into thing number 2. I made the decision to become a serial app dater when I moved to Vegas, because I really didn't know anybody hardly there. I decided, what better way than to explore the city, than to meet different people, than to practice my chops when it comes to dating and putting myself out there, than to get several different profiles on several different apps and create an experience for myself. And that's exactly what I did. I had dates lined up from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. The reason I say this decision was a little insane was because I came from the Puritan cloth of belief, which was you don't date multiple people, you're saving yourself for marriage. I did the whole vow of purity like it was a real serious thing for me. I was about that life. And so it was insane to think, oh my gosh, I'm literally going to go away from everything I've learned, been taught, have been doing for so much of my life to now be out here in these streets. Now, I wasn't sleeping with anybody like that. But at the same time, if people that knew me saw me going out with all of these different people over this extended period of time, they probably would have been like, Portia, what are you doing? This is not like you. I know a lot of women, especially, will be like, I really don't want to do that. And trust and believe, I wasn't someone who really wanted to do it either. I did it for several different reasons, which I've already done a video about being a serial app dater. But I became a serial app dater for the purpose of being comfortable with being treated. Because where I came from, it was all about you got to grind, get it out the mud for yourself, hit the pavement, be super independent, and you can't depend on someone else, especially a man, to do something for you, because that is what I was wired to believe. That is what I grew up seeing. That is how I ended up living all throughout my 20s and even into my early 30s. And so in order to break that ideology, I forced myself, rather I repositioned myself to experience something different. Because when you get on dating apps, the purpose is to date, to meet, to go out. And so when that is the environment that you're in, you will get more of being treated, more of being pursued by men. And so that was a benefit for me. And I'll just go ahead and tell you the result of that. It wasn't so much that I found my husband on the dating app, because I did not. However, what it gave me was fearlessness. I was able to break out of the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm only seeing one guy and I'm afraid to say what I really want, or I'm afraid to say what I don't want because I don't want to lose this person because it's the only option that I have. And that is the benefit of seeing multiple people at once, or exploring your options when you're not committed. Obviously, I'm not telling you to be a cheater. I'm just saying when you are dating and you are exploring your options, this is one of the benefits that happens versus being narrow-minded and singly focused on one person, being loyal before commitment. That can often be to your own detriment. And so that's what it did for me. So by the time my husband popped into my DMs on Facebook, I wasn't even trying to have a conversation with him because I was so done with the dating scene. I was just like, I don't want to date at all. I had 0 F's to give. I straight out told him after he said he wanted to date me after a few conversations and a meetup or two. I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested. I've been there, done that. This is actually what I want. I want lifelong partnership, courting for marriage. If that's not what you want, like I wasted no time because I had already lost so much, risked so much going along for the ride with all of these previous men, that I was just like, yeah, no more. I'm not doing it. I'm not willing to do it. I'm not going to play their game. If there's a game to be played, it will be the one that I create and the one that I invite them into. And that is exactly what ended up bringing me the love in my life that I wanted, because I stopped settling for less, settling for what a man wanted versus choosing what I wanted. That was the decision that I made when it came to dating multiple men at once and ultimately being unafraid to walk away from something if it didn't serve me, if it wasn't the love that I was looking for. And side note, if you want to know why you may be stuck in the same relationship rut you've been in, whether that's chronic singlehood, attracting the wrong men, or being stuck in a relationship that you do not like, I have free guides on my website. Click the link in my description box for that below. It's absolutely free. get the guy and unlock some of the mysteries that you've had surrounding your relationship experiences so that you can begin to do the work to come out of that and change some stuff up for yourself. Now back to what I was saying. All right, so that was the second thing. The third major thing, insane thing, depending on who you ask, and decision that I made was to not so much change my look, but definitely to level up my looks. I am my father's child. He will put on any and everything, go out and do a job, come back with concrete and paint and dust all over himself and not think twice about it. And so for me, growing up with my dad and being the handy girl in the house, I just never had this wiring, this feminine wiring of, oh, I need to doll myself up. I need to adorn myself. I need to look a certain way, to present to the world a certain way. That was just never within me to do. And so I'm going to insert some pictures from my before and my after when I made a conscious decision to really care about the way that I was presenting myself. Because let me be clear, in a lot of ways, the world is vain, but in other ways, the world picks up what you put down. So you can look at it as, oh, they only care about my looks, which I think was what kept me from really caring about improving my looks. I wanted someone to just see me for me. But when I realized outside of vanity, people are attracted to certain frequencies and vibration. They're attracted to aesthetics for a reason. It's not just vanity. It's how do I feel when I'm approaching what I'm seeing? Do I feel welcomed? Do I feel more masculine if they're a man? All of those things play into getting what it is that we say we want. For instance, going on a job interview. Do you show up with holes in your clothes? Do you show up not smelling good? Do you show up with your hair disheveled? I would hope not, because the way that you present shows the company you are the person that they are looking for, not just on paper, but in person. And I had to start deciding to show up for what it was that I said I wanted. I said I wanted a man who was going to be a provider, who was going to be loving, who was going to see all of the beauty that was me. I had to make a decision to stop looking like Barbara the Builder and looking like the woman and the wife that I claimed I wanted to be. I wanted to have a soft life, but I wasn't emulating it. And so I made the conscious decision to drastically level up my looks to the point where people thought I was a different person. And when you're evolving and leveling up in that kind of way, you technically are becoming a different person. And so I had to get comfortable with being different, presenting different, having people approach me differently, and they will when you do these things. And so for some, it may not seem insane, but for me, it was. It was insane to think about, oh my gosh, I got to spend all this time in the mirror now getting myself together, when before it was just like, I'm throwing on a hat, some jeans, and I'm out the door because I got stuff to do. That was a bit insane. And sometimes it still, is a thing that I have to work through. This is what a soft life is. It means I have the time. What am I in a rush for? And don't I want to emulate and feel what a soft life is? I want to look soft. I don't want to look hard. I don't want to look like I'm struggling. I don't want to feel that way either. And so that statement, fake it till you make it, or sometimes you just need to dress yourself up, take a good shower, and you'll feel better. That was one of the things that I decided to do to help myself to begin to emulate and feel the feeling of living a softer life. It started with the way I looked and felt about myself when I stood in front of the mirror. So I hope that makes sense. The fourth thing I decided to do that was a bit insane to bring about the soft life and love into my life was I decided to rent a room in a pretty luxurious home with kind of a complete stranger. Like, who moves across state lines with zero savings and moves in with a man they don't even know? I wasn't dating this person. It was literally a room for rent. But I chose this specific situation because it allowed me to be in the environment that was conducive to the soft life vision that I had for myself. Now, should you move in with a complete stranger? I don't recommend it. And me personally, I'll say this person wasn't exactly a stranger. I did know them in some way. But in terms of being in their house like that before I moved in with them, even seeing them on a consistent basis like that wasn't the case at all. We didn't know each other for a super long time. But it posed itself as a opportunity at the time that I wanted to take advantage of being in a new place. It allowed me to do thing number 5. But I want to say sometimes you have to make those drastic decisions when it comes to being in certain places that allow you to feel like your 3D is catching up to the 5D, if you understand what I mean, meaning your external circumstances are starting to match the vision that you hold or that you've had in your mind. Even if it's not 100% on the mark, if it's getting you closer to where you want to be versus where you were. That was the reasoning that I came to when I made the decision to move in basically with a stranger in a totally different state. I wanted to be in a home that was absolutely beautiful, that I could see myself living in comfortably, that made me feel like I was living a soft life. It just so happened that my roommate, the owner of the home, was a man. And my vision was, I want to live a soft life where I have a man that is fully providing for me. And so that brought me one step closer to feeling and emulating those things. But as I said, that decision led to the next decision, which was switching my career. It was about going from having to work full time and stressing myself out at a job that I did not want to be at, to working part time, doing something that was, rewarding in a certain sense, that allowed me to not be so stressed out on the hamster wheel from sunup to sundown. It allowed me to rest more. It allowed me to be more creative. It allowed me to feel more of the frequency of a softer life because I wasn't having to go all of the bills and the finances on my own, just renting a room in this particular home. And so for a lot of people, they would say, oh, that's kind of insane because, I need my money. And trust me, I am a Capricorn, quintessential Capricorn. We thrive on not being broke, okay? But I will tell you, we know how to make it and survive if we are. I digress. The point is, I had to make a decision to cut my income. That's where the insane part is. That's how about it I was when it came to bringing about this new manifestation of life. I made a conscious decision, which for a lot of people is insane. How were you going to let go full-time money to go part-time? I was so serious about not struggling in my life anymore that I was willing to do that. I was willing to downsize and cut my expenses by a fraction so that I didn't have to continue working so hard anymore. That was the payoff for me. Now, I never would have considered downsizing and making less ultimately to get more. But I just want to know in the comments, y'all, let me know if this is something that you've ever considered, that you would ever do, that you've done, and has it worked for you? Would you ever quit your full-time job to work part-time, move out of whatever house or apartment you have so that you can stop having to grind so much? Would you ever consider doing this? Let me know. I'm just curious. Okay. And so the last insane decision that I made, I say it's insane for some people because they probably would look at me and think, Portia, what is that? What are you doing? What are you over there in that corner saying? But I made the decision to reprogram my emotions and my confession about my life by constantly reciting love and attraction mantras. It was almost like a pre-game ritual. I used to do this, especially when I was a serial dater. Before each date, I went through at least a 2 to 3 hour ritual where I was getting myself ready, but I was listening to them, the mantras on YouTube. I was reciting them. I was playing all types of different frequency and vibrational music to really get me in the space of feeling ultra attractive, feeling ultra magnetic, knowing that I had this amazing, captivating power to pull, to bring about love in my life, to have amazing dating options, to have the partner of my desire, to have this huge aura surrounding me that was filled with warmth and love. For me, it was all about embodying, learning to embody the person who had it, who had the love they wanted, who had the softer life they wanted, who was living it. That is what listening to and repeating those affirmations and mantras was all about for me. Like, I literally went into a trance, and some people, if they would have seen me, would have been like, girl, you crazy. And you know what? That's okay. Because let's talk about the results that I got after 6 months of not just doing that, but all the other things. I want to talk about how much it works. And so here are the results. After my 6-month stint of living in Vegas, being a serial dater, downsizing, working less, living in a luxurious home, constantly doing affirmations and visualizations and listening to the things that reinforce my new belief system, I ended up meeting my husband, and within 3 months, I was engaged. And then within 10 months, I was married. I became the woman that I saw myself being. For the first year of marriage, I was a stay-at-home wife. And I'm still living that. I realized for me that I was bored and I didn't just want to be cooped up in the house all day. And so I decided to venture out and do other things. But what I'm saying is these things absolutely worked. I am living proof. I am still living in the manifestation, the tangible reality of those things that I started now probably 8 years ago. And it has made every bit of the difference in my life and in my journey. And I know, because I struggled, y'all. I struggled so much in love and relationships, crash and burns, risking my life. Oh my gosh. I did that all throughout my 20s and half of my 30s. And I never could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I know that if I can do it, you can do it too. Now, there are many other things that I also did in my journey, but I mean, this would end up being an hour-long video if I talked about that. But as always, I want to know, what are your thoughts on these things? Have you ever done any of these things? Have you ever considered doing any of them? If you have done them, what has been the result for you? And are there any other things that you would recommend people make the decision to do to change their lives, to bring about the love they desire, and to create that softer life? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you're interested in working with me one-on-one to help walk you through changing your life, bringing about that partner that you desire, getting out of whatever negative or toxic relationship cycles you've been in, book a free consultation with me. The link for doing that is in the description box beneath this video. If there is anything that I have said that has resonated with you, I ask that you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Join the community here. Engage in the conversation in the comments, and share this if you feel it could be beneficial for someone else. I want to thank you for taking the time. If you stuck through this entire video with me, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I hope to see you in the next one. That's all I have for this video. And until the next video, peace and blessings, and bye for now.